Awesome. So, welcome everyone to the session with Karina. She's not just an expert in life design, she's also my professor, and I had the honor of attending one of her classes in at TU Berlin a couple of semesters ago, and it was about life design. And of course, there's a lot of connections between her work and the work of design thinking. And it's impacted me a lot ever since. And I hope you really enjoy this session and learn a lot about how life design could also maybe be something of interest for you. And without further ado, I would like to hand over to you, Karina. Space is yours.
Sure, thank you. I'll start the slideshow. You see it, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's how the journey started. Thank you very much, Caro, for the introduction. My name is Karina Cagarman. I'm from the Technical University of Berlin. As Caro already said, I'm postdoc here and I'm at the chair for entrepreneurship. So design thinking was always part of my teaching life, let's say. And then I oh, had the inspiration from, maybe you know them, Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, Designing Your Life. It came from the D School, Stanford. They wrote a book, which was my first inspiration on, because I was always trying to figure out how could we have kind of a process to support people on creating their own lives, being more self-aware and have higher self-efficacy. So this was the starting point of the Designing Your Life. I've read the book and I asked my professor if I can teach a course called Design Your Happy Life. And he said, go ahead. So I had the freedom to do that. And I started out in 2018. And it didn't stop there because I did a training on systematic coach for positive psychology with the first professor of positive psychology in Germany, and she was also like her godfather, or let's say not godfather, but dissertation father was Martin Seligman, who you might know from positive psychology. And she studied also at the UPenn. So the whole training was very science related because I'm a scientist by heart and I need facts, I need numbers, I need research to back everything up. So yeah, that's how the journey started. So I've developed the course further. And why did I do that? Because I saw there was a mental health crisis, kind of, because we have a lot of people in Germany with mental health problems. It's about close to 30%. We have a like 4.2% burnout. And if you look at, like, every second person is in danger to face burnout, and the suicide numbers are also not so high, not so great. And I saw that also during my teaching time at the Technical University of Berlin, that that students get more and more depressed. So I took this inspiration and turned it into a course called Design Your Happy Life. And you are all familiar with design thinking, right? With the process steps. And this is what I took from the Design Your Life from Stanford approach. I've but what was so special about my approach is, I think, that I added positive psychology because I wanted to create happy people and happy lives. So why? Because happy people show more resilience to stress and traumas. They are more productive at work and are more creative, make more money, whoever cares, but and have superior jobs, are better leaders and negotiators. They have stronger immune systems. So that's the body-mind connection that plays a huge role there. And it's not only what you do like on your daily basis, but also what goes on in your mental space. And they have stronger immune system, as I said, and are physically healthier. They are more likely to have fulfilling marriages and are likely to divorce. And probably you are also aware of the longest study on done by Harvard that tells as that the most important role play relationships, right? To have a long and happy life. So for more fulfilling marriages and have more friends and social support. And in this way, they are also more helpful and philanthropic. So that was the goal behind it. And if you look at positive psychology, because psychology looked more and on the things of what is wrong with you. But what positive psychology is doing is to look at what's right with you and what can we learn from people who are performing well and who are flourishing. And there are a lot of positive psychology interventions out there. So we are not focusing on ill-being and but trying to improve well-being. It's not positive psychology does never neglect the ill-being part. It still says that we have to treat mental illnesses. Of course, we don't just close our eyes. No, but we want to look at people who are flourishing, who are so great and doing well. What can we do to bring people who are not that well to improve their well-being? And this also helps with people who have had mental issues to support them to become better on their well-being scale, let's say, speaking in terms of a scientist. So it's not about fixing what's wrong with us, but rather focusing on what's strong and how can we build on what's strong. So we came up with the process completely based on design thinking. First, we look at ourselves and try to see what are our values, what are our strengths, what is our personality, and what goes hand in hand with our personality. So if I'm an introvert, then definitely it's not a good idea to be always around people. I need some time to be for myself, to reconnect to myself, to recover, right? And if I'm an extrovert, maybe I need some more time and like with other people, and it wouldn't be a healthy idea to stay isolated for a long time. So in this discover phase, we have, it varies. We can, there are a lot of positive psychology interventions which are proven by science that help people. And in the discover phase, we took the most important ones from our perspective to try to understand ourselves. So not only values, personality, strengths, but also look at our lives, life stories, and looking at the highs and the lows, and what did we learn from that, and what does it tell us about our value system. So we also evaluate, have a life snapshot. So where do we stand right now in terms of physical health, mental health, relationships, money-wise, career, personal development-wise, and so on. And that's what we take. And I have to say there are different approaches to life design, right? Because I'm in a life design community. We have, for example, the professor from St. Gallen, Professor Dr. Sebastian Kernbach, who did also, most of the life designers actually did the training at Stanford. And he has a little bit different approach than I have. I look at life holistically. He takes, for example, Sebastian Kernbach takes small routines and small changes to life. And in this approach, in the holistic approach, so we look at in the mirror and try to find out who are we. And then in the next step, we define where do we want to go? What's our life vision? So based upon our values, based upon our strengths, the relationships we have, the ecosystem. And there are two other positive psychology interventions on, for example, we could take, you have your 80th birthday or 100 years birthday, and you have a big birthday celebration, and students always say like 100 years, it's not possible. And science shows it is possible. We can live up to 120, 150 years. And that's also a limiting belief people have, because science really shows that we can live that long. And if you look at the blue zones and longevity, there are people who live very long. So just looking at the celebration and asking yourself, what would my colleagues say, or what I would like to hear from my colleague saying, from a family member and from a friend. And this also shifts the perspective and tells us what do I want to be remembered for, and what are the values I would live my life according to. So in this defined space, we have kind of a life vision. And then in the dream space, this is where the Odyssey plans come in from the Stanford University. Here I have the best possible self. So you you map out a dream life, the best possible self you can be and you want to be. And it depends, it can be very individual. Some people take just 1 year because more than 1 year is overwhelming for them. Others they take 20 years. So you see the variety of people. And what I always say, make it your own. This is your life, take responsibility and make it your own. Change every intervention, change every tool so that it fits you. And if it doesn't resonate with you, it's not yours. Take another one. So that's how I actually do the whole life design course, because it's very important to create a safe space where people can open up and where they feel safe and valued and respected. And actually, it comes to being accepted as a human being in the way you are now, because what I see that usually a high majority of students, they don't accept themselves as they are. And just telling them that you're enough the way you are right now, you are just enough. And the world would be a different place without you in this moment. I think this already takes fuels kind of how to say or makes the people more accepted and appreciated as they are. And to create this safe space is one of the biggest challenges in this kind of courses. So after mapping out this best possible self, and this is a positive psychology intervention, there was a meta-analysis done that it works, but to some extent. There is no intervention that can, turn your life completely around. I'm trying to prove it with life design. Who knows? Maybe it will show me the results. I hope. I want to get. And what we do next is, as you are familiar with design thinking, do small steps, prototypes, and then test them out. So write out, okay, this is my dream life for the next 5 years. And what what kind of prototype could I use to test it out? And surprisingly to me today, I've got an email from a student from 1 year ago, and she said, life design still resonates with me. I'm doing my prototype because I wanted to go to Paris and I want to live in Paris, but I will try it out for 1 month. So I'm going there next month. I'm so like, that's so great to hear this kind of feedback. So yeah, try and do these small prototypes, and as described in the book Designing Your Life as well, you don't need to study medicine and then after 5, 6, 7 years finding out that being a doctor is nothing for you, right? Just talk to other doctors, do an internship, just observe in the hospital how life it looks like when you're a doctor, for example, and don't waste this kind of, not wasting, but just find what's resonating with you. And this is what we do with small prototypes. And then go out and test them. And as you know, expectations and then reality hits you, right? And what do we do is like go and iterate, do it one more time, and then second time and third time. And this was actually what I experienced throughout teaching life design for these already 8 years. um, that it's kind of training entrepreneurial mindset. And this is the next thing that I'm going to explore with Oxford Wellbeing Research Center. I've partnered up with them, and we are doing what we're doing right now is to create a scale on entrepreneurial mindset, which is divided into cognitive, emotional, and behavioral elements, and see how this course really teaches the entrepreneurial mindset. And I think only the design thinking approach through this iteration, testing out, and helps already to make people more resilient and to don't take their lives so serious in terms of because it brings also kind of perspective in when you look at your life history and what all the drawbacks brought you, what you've learned from them, right? And how they moved you to the place where you are right now. And yeah, so the combination of design thinking and positive psychology, from my perspective, is a huge contribution to the society for later on to train future skills. And this is something that we are doing in a big group. I'm not sure, maybe some of you are familiar with or know Bettina Maisch, who is a lead coach in Impact Week. And I was a senior coach with her in Cali last year. So we have a huge research group right now. We will be at the European Academy of Management and also Academy of Management this year, presenting our results. So yeah, that's from my side. Design thinking is great, but life thinking is unavoidable. And what's I think the course is also teaching is taking responsibility for your own life. Just take responsibility, take your life in your hands, sit on the steering wheel, and don't say or don't blame others or the circumstances for what's happening to you. Right? And when you take responsibility, you have the option to create and recreate and recreate and recreate your life. So this was a small introduction. Maybe you have some questions. And I can go more in detail of all of them. I can teach lectures, although I don't like to talk a lot.
Thank you so much, Karina. If anyone is too shy and wants to put their question in the chat, I have an eye on that as well. But yeah, if you have any direct questions, yeah, please, Moritz.
Hi, very nice to see you all, and thanks very much for the presentation. Yeah, I'm maybe it's a little bit detailed, but I would be very interested in understanding this mapping process of in the dream phase. I work as a coach as well, and I sometimes use the empathy map for mapping your future self. And I didn't base that on any research. It was more like an intuitive idea in one coaching session where I did that. So I'm very interested in that method. If you want to share a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So this is an intervention from positive psychology, and there is no real method behind it. It just tells you as an prompt, let's say, instruction. How do you imagine your life to be when you're at your best? And what I do before in this dream phase is I push people to write down about 100 dreams. What do you want to learn? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Where do you want to be? And what do you want to acquire? And I give them about 20, 30 minutes to make this huge list. And the more, the better, because some things are obvious, but the more meaningful things, they're hidden. And this is also, I think, the very like a challenge because we are very cognitive, and to bring my students or participants as well on this emotional side, because then a lot of magic happens, because they discover, oh, that's actually not what I want, because this was kind of broad, like what I was given by my parents, or the expectations of society, and so on. So you just get instructions, but since we do before the dream list, and in the discover phase, you have all like what are your strengths, what are your values, and we have this iterative process. So every time you need to bring all the other phases into best possible self. And I've tried several different techniques, so that's why the question is great. And it depends on the personality I have in front of me. Some people, they're just blooming when they get the creativity, like the freedom to be as creative as possible. So they just get a blank page, a big format, like a flip chart, and they try to map it out, and then they go back to the discover phase, and then they go back to the find phase and bring it up into the dream phase. And what I also noticed is that when I do one exercise before that, which opens them a little bit, and it's also in terms of design thinking, that I divide them in pairs, and then you have two people standing in front of each other. Everyone gets a piece of paper and a pen, and in 1 minute they have to draw a portrait of the person in front of them. And then everyone has a portrait. It doesn't matter how it looks like, but everyone has something on the paper, right? Oh. Oh, sorry, now I'm kind of out. So this is an exercise to show them you can draw, and just use that. And try to get out of your cognitive mind, try to just draw whatever comes into your mind, and then go back to discover, go back to define, and then iterate. So that's how I approach it, yeah.
Cool, thanks.
But if you have some tips, I'm always curious and open.
Tips, I don't know, but I'm just like, what I use is the empathy map, and it's more like almost a little bit like a meditation where they think about what do you feel, do, hear, and so on, if you're at your best, but in the future. So it's kind of like a meditative thing, and I document it for them in the empathy map, and then afterwards they look at it and they delete things or use things and so on. But maybe an additional question, if no one else is asking, do you document this process? Like if you say they go back to discover and so on, so you have like an arsenal of their own documentation?
Yes. So first, like documentation second, but first there is also a technique called, because I see there is a familiarity with what your approach is, the wonder question, Wunderfrage in German. So what do you feel? Like just imagine you are already there where you want to be. What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you experience? And so on. And this was also like there are some studies in academic literature, not that many, but there are some. And it works. And we have also kind of visualization techniques. We tried also out. So this is also something that works, but this is more in the deliver phase later on. And in terms of documentation, we have a booklet which we hand out to every student. So there are all the tools inside, and they can go over it. And now we are at 150 iteration 150 of the book. I'm not sure if it's ever going to be published, but no, it's already on the way. So, and it's a little bit different from the others on the market right now, because it's really science-based. There are some tools from coaching as well, because like the live snapshot or the live wheel there are some studies on that, but not that high ranked in journal publications. So it's a science-based approach, and it's kind of a workbook. So you get a short science, science behind, and then you have instructions, and then you do the tool that you would apply, and sometimes with examples, sometimes without. It depends on the exercise itself. Yes, so they have it. Before I didn't have that at all, but then we worked on this booklet or workbook and tried to develop it. And especially because I saw that the demand is so high, I don't even do any kind of marketing for my course. And in 1-2 hours, it's just booked out immediately. And there are people approaching me and asking, like, when are you going to teach this course again? And I was like, I'm sorry, it needs to be like a small course, because I cannot teach in front of 30, like 32 was my maximum, and this was already a lot. But now I'm working on a kind of hybrid version to bring maybe even more students into the course, because I think that more people should benefit from it. But of course, I will then recommend to take a coach, or in other case, psychotherapist to go along, because otherwise it's like it helps better because I cannot provide individual support. And documentation, so one, this workbook. And what's really interesting is at the end of the course, they have to submit a live report. And this live report, I'm telling everyone that they can have their own live report and then black out everything they don't want to share with me. So first of all, I'm obliged by my contract at the TU Berlin that I cannot share any details. And to be honest, I had so many students. I remember stories, and I'm so bad at with names. So I think that's a bonus here. And we also agree in the courses that it's okay to share stories without names, because you will always anyway talk to your friends and tell, oh, there was someone in the class and with this and this. But if it's not related to the name, then it's fine. So, and the interesting thing is, when they hand in the live report, that's actually where the whole reflection process happens. Because the course, they say, yeah, that's great, and we are so happy after that, and our well-being is boosted because of the community, because of the safe space, people they can share with, they can go through the whole process with, and also they can take time to reflect. No other university course allows to reflect upon yourself. That's a luxury, to be honest. And who is taking time to sit home and reflect? That's usually we are so overwhelmed and like in our hamster wheel that we forget to do that or push it. But here they get even credits. And so when they write this live report and when they hand in, they say, oh, this really helped. And I have especially like feedback, not in form of a questionnaire, but people telling me. And then, for example, I met a student 2 years after the course, and she said, the course just changed my life. I really turned my whole life up and down, and now I'm doing yoga retreats. I've even heard of a student who didn't finish their studies. I'm not sure if my university is so happy about that. They just broke and went off to also become a yoga teacher. I don't know what's maybe my passion for yoga. No, I don't know. But just to see that it helps people, and but writing it down, writing it down on paper. This is where the deepest reflection happens, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karina. Sebastian, before you start with your question, I have a few questions in the chat. From Heike, how many days do you usually use for the coaching, especially looking at individuals or groups?
Yeah, very good question. So I do only, like I did before, individual coaching, but then I realized that I need to reach more people. And so I completely went to doing workshops. And what we do, since this is all in the university setup, and I started to also give some workshops outside the university, but it's in the first initial phases, so not that much experience to tell about. But the first 3 phases are covered usually by 2 days, I would say, because the first day is more introduction at the university, then what's well-being, what's eudaimonic well-being, like the long-term purposeful happiness, and what's hedonic well-being, the short-term joyful happiness, and so on. So it's more like a lot of theory behind it, and introduction to the course. So I would say discover, define, and dream take up to 2 days, 2.5, and really from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then draft and deliver usually 1 day. I hope this answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Then we have Sebastian, maybe you want to ask your question first, and then I move on to the ones in the chat.
Yeah, I'm happy to cut in. Hi, Karina.
Hi.
You talked about breaking your dream life down into prototypes, and I'm just curious, do you have some examples of exceptional or peculiar life prototypes you came across during your work? Something that you thought, oh, wow, that's a very creative word to test an assumption.
This is very interesting. Now, like
because you taught like people that broke up, they dropped out of university and became yoga teachers, but that doesn't sound like a prototype. That sounds like all or nothing, and I'm out. It changed my life completely. But I'm just like curious about the little prototypes I could implement, maybe.
No, like the complete turnover happened after having these kind of prototypes, because
Okay.
the person first had a blog, and then she did a coaching training, became a coach, and then she started coaching, and then I did a yoga teachers training, and this happened in 2 years. So it
Okay.
was like one step by another. It was not, but I've met her 2 years later, so it was like an accumulation of a lot of small, but then like small prototypes, which became a very big prototype. Interest, like there were a lot, like for example, what we also do is habits, like implementing new habits, for example, where and this is also something I also tell in the course. It can be, for example, as easy as if you want to go for running, right? And you cannot motivate yourself to do it in the morning, but the morning is the only way to do. You can, like, there was a person just going to sleep with the running clothes, and then putting the shoes close to the bed. So if you get up, you just put your shoes on and go running, or having no phones, like phone-free time after 8 p.m., then putting your phone into the mailbox so that you have to go outside your apartment to take it back again. So just some things like that. But usually it's more doing research, becoming creating some content as a YouTuber, or because I have students, certain
Gen Z.
generation, yes. But a lot of doing research, doing interviews with people, conducting interviews, doing internships, and creating plans, to-do lists, what to follow, how to follow. This is I would say, the usual case
What do
of
you
these small
recommend?
prototypes.
Or you just want a little follow-up question. So what do you recommend to them how to hold yourself accountable for these implementation steps? Because I would imagine that dreaming my life is something that's fun and probably it's done in a day, but then like implementing it step by step can be a very cumbersome endeavor. Do you have any recommendations on that?
So this is usually, because I've read a lot of sites on that as well, and Huberman was also an inspiration there. So there is actually science also showing that having a buddy system doesn't always work.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I have to, sorry. It does not always work because for some people it creates too much pressure. So what I recommend doing, and what we do also in the deliver phase, and that's also why we have this kind of journaling. That's the next step. So we have this workbook, and then in the next step we will, or I'm already working on the journal, because what we do is we want to create this kind of 100-day challenges or 30-day challenges, where you have your bigger goal and you just take it, like slice it into smaller pieces, and make it in a way that it's not too overwhelming, but you can always do something. And I think to get into this momentum is already great to have in the course, to say, okay, now you have the time, now call someone, now write an email, now do something. And this is the first step, and this gets people rolling already, right? And then also writing the life report. This helps because you have to write the life report, and you remembered instantly, oh, this is what I'm actually dreaming about, and this is what I want to do. But what we and this was also, I think, years of experience having this kind of 100-day plan. Okay, this is week 1, small steps, not too big, but still having kind of a middle goal for this week. And then the next one, the next one, the next one. So I can, from my personal experience, what helps me is, but I'm a little bit extreme, Cara knows. I have in my home office, I have a whiteboard, magnetic whiteboard, and I have kind of Kanban methods, whiteboard plan with all the steps, and then also coded in different colors, so that I can see, okay, this is something for my life I'm doing, this is something for my work, and even work is divided into research and grants, and so on and so forth. So I can always see in the end, okay, that's what I really accomplished. And to find a way for yourself to not overwhelm yourself, how many cards you can actually, or post-its, I have magnetic post-its, kind of, how many you can accomplish, and then reflect upon that. So this is something I would say works for me personally, but also for other people I've talked to who are using this method. And I think also what we have, what I'm implementing in the journal, is having this emotional check-ins. What works and what doesn't, and this reflection on every step. Is it something that brings me closer to my goal or not? Do I feel comfortable? Do I want to do that? Do I want to have it in my life? And if doing it a few times just upsets you, then maybe rethink your strategy. Maybe you can delegate it. Maybe you can, partner up with someone and bring the more fun stuff which you enjoy doing in your life. Yeah, but I'm Caro also knows, like in my course, I'm always open for feedback. If you have something, you can challenge me. I like to be challenged. And this enriches the whole process. And I can iterate the new life design approach.
I
Does it
think,
ha
Sorry, Heike. I was
yeah,
gonna ask one question from the chat because it's
yeah.
been there for a few moments already, and then I hand over to
but
you.
maybe before that, Sebastian, does it help somehow?
Yeah, it's pretty much what I expected, or some of the
Okay.
tools I already heard, but I'm a
Mhm.
bit disappointed that the buddy system doesn't work.
Oh.
But
Doesn't work for everyone,
for
for
everyone,
everyone.
okay.
Yeah, for everyone. Maybe it works for you. For me, I always thought it doesn't work, but now I have like my life partner has the same system, and I just not I don't have to talk to him, but if I see his cards are flying, then my cards are flying as well. So this kind of without, this explicit buddy system, but surrounding yourself with the people who you who get you closer to who you want to be and who support you. I think this is so valuable in our life. And this is also an exercise which we are doing in the Discover phase, the Echo Map, where you really map out all the people you have around you and map out who brings you energy, who drains your energy, who brings joy in your life, who sucks energy out of you. And this is totally fine. Sometimes the relationships have up and downs, right? But if it happens on a constant basis, then that's something that you need to think of and to change in your life. And then also we have, I think, Caro, I'm not sure if we had it in your class, but power players, people you admire, and they don't have to be people you are connected with. It can be someone, a blogger, a YouTuber, whomever you want to, but someone who you really think that they're close to what you want to become or accomplish. Having them as role models and surrounding yourself with more content of them, this helps also a lot to stay on track, to stay motivated, and to have an inspiration kind of.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question from the chat also kind of goes into the discover phase. Craig is asking, how do you know what you want? For example, if you would prefer living in an exciting city or maybe on a farm surrounded by nature, how do you figure that out
Yeah,
in the process?
yeah, thank you, Greg. That's a great question because this is where we go into the prototype phase. So what you actually do is you first write down, okay, where do you want to live? And then go there for a month and test it out, or for 2 weeks. Maybe you're already fed up, after 2 weeks and say no horses, no pigs around me, or other ways around. I like nature so much, and I like being surrounded by animals. And you just try to see, okay, but that's the prototype. 1 month or maybe even longer, and so on. So here, I think this comes also back to discover who are you. Who do you want to have around in your life? Where do you want to live? And where do you want to go? And this kind of who are you goes into what's your vision and how do you bring this vision into your life, like into the future, and then how can I test out the future already now, step by step, and then just, okay, I've tested this step. Being on an animal farm, it's my dream come true, and then you try to really come closer to the goal, because then after the prototype, after you see that the prototype is working for you, this becomes the goal, and then you deliver on the goal, and this is the time where you really make commitment to your goals.
I guess I was thinking is, what if you're happy if two very different things? Like I could imagine if I go out to spend a month on a farm, yeah, that'd be fun. If I went to spend a month in Berlin, oh, that'd be fun. So they're both better than now, but how does somebody then decide which one they're going for? Do I have to do a longer prototype?
Yeah, my cousin, for example, she lives half a year in Thailand, half a year in Russia, and she's traveling back and forth, and then they decided, oh no, we don't want to go back, and it happened already 10 years ago. So she said, oh, I don't want to live in Russia anymore. They just moved completely to Thailand. So I think like having this longer periods of time and then seeing maybe the mixture makes it, maybe this is exactly what you need, the half time off on the countryside and then half year in the city to suck in all the city life, all this cultural life, and then going again back, so it depends. And it will change. That's why I think design thinking is such a great tool for life design, because you always iterate and you see, okay, half a year, this was too much. Maybe next time only 2 months, but longer in the city or longer in the country. Does that answer your question, Greg?
Yeah, guess so, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect, thank you. Then I would give the word to Heike before I continue with the questions from the chat.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much, Karina, for sharing all your insights here and your experience. And you just mentioned you like to be challenged. I do actually like to challenge a little bit. So, for example, this prototyping, I think that sounds very product heavy. So why not, for example, call that, and I'm just reading that book from Enlor LeCunff, tiny experiments, because it's experimenting with certain situations, right? So my challenge would be, or I would like to challenge you, what would we call this all if without any of the design thinking terminology, to maybe make it a bit more accessible for people who are not familiar with design thinking?
And this is a great challenge. Thank you so much. That's why maybe you see in the life design, the slide I've shared right now, it's not the design thinking steps, right? You have
Yeah,
discover
sure.
yourself, define your vision, dream your life, draft your life, and then deliver. And what I usually do is really say experiments and not
Thank you.
prototypes. Yeah, I
Wonderful.
do that.
I love
I do
hearing
that.
that.
I
Wonderful.
do that because prototypes is just like this is
Yeah.
really
People, you will get a
yeah.
blank stare, like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
Thank you.
experiments, and thank you so much for the feedback. I will take even put more emphasis on experimenting in the future.
Great, thank you for that. We have another question from Carlos, who you also met. He says he would like to implement the life design class in Cali. How can people approach you? How is there already a model on how people can do this kind of class somewhere else? And is it possible to share the book?
Carlos, I don't see you, but thank you for the question. Actually, what I'm working right now is to develop an online, like as I said, hybrid format, but because I still think that the community, like the life design, is so based on sharing. So in my classroom, what I do, I provide the safe space. And to be honest, I tell the students that I'm a facilitator, but you make the rules. You make it so valuable. The community, like, because they learn from each other. The interaction, you should see the interaction. They are always like people are lightening up. And I take myself further in the background. So I facilitate, I lead through the process, but sometimes I also lead discussions, but usually it's done by the students themselves. And there is a lot of exchange between the students in triads or with two students. So, and what I'm doing right now is developing an online course based on what I've developed so far with this positive psychology interventions. And I'm happy to share that with you later on. So when it's done, and I hope to be able to open it up next semester at the TU Berlin, and then maybe having kind of a kick-off session. I'm afraid that I will be like surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of students, which will probably happen, but we'll see. And the book is not published yet, but it will hopefully be published soon. And yeah, but Carlos, we can exchange.
Great. I'm sure if you need volunteers, I also see a few people that are very interested in psychology, that are coaches based in Berlin or eager to travel. Maggie, I remember you studied neuroscience, I think, and Jutta is also in the call. So I'm sure if you need anyone from the community, they would be very open to also support in case there's a lot of students. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm really, really, Carlos, now I see you. Hi. I'm so happy to see so many faces because I didn't expect that many people joining this call. So happy. It's also, again, a sign that this topic is very important as a future skill to overcome depression, to work on our resilience, to teach our students and the next generation to take more care of themselves and be responsible for their own well-being. And this is something that we should give to the next generation. And what I do, for example, is also in the classes, I challenge them to write a happiness list. So whatever makes them happy, it can be as wild as possible. And I challenge them to come up with at least 50 things. And then when the course is done, I say, okay, and now you have a homework. And students are like, well, homework? Come on, we have 8 more hours tomorrow together. And I just tell them, do 2 or 3 small things from this list and just try to, be more aware of your own well-being. Make yourself feel better because you're responsible. No one else can make you happy. You're the only one. Yeah, so thank you so much for this presentation. I didn't expect that. I told to Kara, we can be together, just the 2 of us in the call. I will be happy already.
I knew this was not going to happen. I do have one last question, and then we can finish it off with the statement from Sebastian, which I also think is a really nice last word. Carl was asking, a lot of this approach is similar to the 12-step recovery progress. Are there any parallels? Did you work with this process maybe when developing the method?
No, not at all, but I will look it up. I've looked more into the positive psychology, and I think recovery process steps are, I didn't come across that, but I will look that up. Thank you very much for the hint. And Stefan, hi. It's great to see some familiar faces.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I think what Sebastian put in the text is, yeah, it's so difficult to really find a new, let's say, concept of how a life can look like, and there's a lack of inspiration how different designs can look like because most people in his surroundings follow the standard route of corporate career, family, and buying a house and that this can really serve as an inspiration to expand the room of the dreamable. And I think that's also really beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, and this is definitely future oriented because the traditional career path won't exist that long anymore. And the more agile, let's say in design thinking terms, we are, the more we can adapt to the circumstances and to the future looking at us, the more resilient we become and the more well we feel, I think. So, yes, I totally agree with that.
Thank you so much for the session. I think the last and most important question would be how can people follow what you're working on? How can they get in touch with you and get updates on how life design develops in the future?
That's yeah, a good question because it's so difficult for me to. I'm not that very public, but you can always add me on LinkedIn, and I probably will post more in the future. And the book will be published hopefully soon, and we will also design more workshops and maybe train the trainer or things like that. Because for now, since I'm in research, I'm working on live design workshops and consortia between different universities from the European Union and Western Balkan, so that we can bring this concept to more people. And yeah, so I think LinkedIn is the best way for now. But I can send you my email address and you can reach out if you have more questions. Always happy to answer and to be in contact.
And there's also the opportunity to do another session in the future if you
Yes,
want
of
to
course.
reconnect, if there's new developments, or maybe a train the coach approach for scaling it across different countries as well. Yeah, so thank you so much, Karina, for taking the time. Thank you all for your many, many questions. I think it shows a great interest in the topic. And yeah, thanks for being part of this community. Enjoy the rest of your day and hope to see all of you soon.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you, Caro, for making this possible. Thanks a lot. Have
Anytime.
a wonderful day.
To you. Bye bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.